In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police, who investigate crimes, and the district attorneys, who prosecute offenders. Physical therapy-based offenses are considered especially heinous. In Hamden, Connecticut, the detectives that investigate these vicious crimes are members of an elite squad known as the Physical Therapy Unit. These are their stories.
Hey, Betty, let's go. Betty, not the OxyContin again! Oh no, someone call 911! How is she?
She's stable. We found a whole lot of OxyContin in her system and we had a stomach.
Found this at the scene. It's a prescription under the name of Maureen Helgren. I'd like a copy of both patients' medical records. Is she coherent enough to speak, or does she still need more time?
She still needs more time, but we'll contact you as soon as she wakes up. I'll go get the records for you.
Excuse me, are you Maureen Helgren?
Do students hate their blue review books?
You must be Maureen Helgren. Detective Wolf, Hamden PD. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Regarding what?
Are you aware that a patient who was on OxyContin earlier today nearly died?
What would that have to do with me?
Well, these pills are in your name.
I didn't do any of those drugs. I need my PT because I don't like drugs.
Who do you go to for physical therapy?
Dr. Hamilton at Haven PT.
Please know about this. This never happened.
Good afternoon, Dr. Hamilton. Officer Wolf of Hamden PD. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about your patients?
I can't speak about my patients, Detective. Can I ask what this is regarding?
Well, earlier today, a girl nearly died due to an overdose of OxyContin, which is prescribed to one of your patients.
A lot of my patients are post-op, and many of them are taking medications for pain.
Well, how would a prescription from one patient get into the hands of another when the only thing connecting these two is your office? We have a sworn statement from another patient saying that she gave you back her OxyContin pills when no longer work for her. Do you want us to question your other patients, or would you rather just give us the information now?
Detective, you have no proof of anything here.
But I do have a warrant.
Will the prosecutor please call our first witness?
The state calls Officer Wolf to the stand. Officer Wolf, upon entering the defendant's office, what did your search reveal?
Well, after searching the entire practice, we examined the defendant's office and found in a filing cabinet several plastic baggies filled with small doses of OxyContin.
And you say small doses. How small do you mean? Please be specific.
I'd say maybe 10 to 15 pills per bag, but there were a lot of baggies in there, at least 20, and each bag had at least 10 pills in it.
Did your search yield any other evidence?
Well, upon examining the defendant's records, it was found that several of the patients were noted as taking OxyContin for pain management post-surgery. But when we interviewed them ourselves, they said they hadn't been taking the pills for weeks.
So you're telling me that the defendant was taking the pills from her patients after they were done and hoarding them for herself?
Objection, Your Honor. Clearly this witness does not have medical knowledge and is incompetent to answer the question. The prosecution's calling for a conclusion.
Sustained.
No further questions.
I have no questions for this witness.
Very well. Call your next witness.
The state calls Dr. Hamilton to the stand. Dr. Hamilton, do you have any valid prescriptions of OxyContin in your name?
No, I do not.
Do any of your patients?
Several of them. It's a common prescription after surgery for pain.
Well, your records indicate that all these patients took their full allotment of pills given to them by their doctor.
I believe so, yes.
But according to the testimony earlier by Officer Wolf, many of the patients reported they stopped taking their pills. Can you explain this discrepancy?
I mean, my records are my records, and that's the best I can do to document what occurs in my practice.
But there were large amounts of OxyContin found in your office. Is that correct?
I would like to choose to plead the fifth.
Very well, but we already have a witness on file recording that there was OxyContin found in your office. Anyways, would you agree that 200 pills is a rather abnormally large amount?
I mean, I've never seen a prescription that large.
Much more than one person could use, correct?
I really don't think I'm qualified to answer that.
Very well then. No further questions.
Dr. Hamilton, as a physical therapist, you can't give advice on prescribing prescription drugs, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's usually left up to the medical doctors. We receive a little bit of education in pharmacology, but nothing to make a professional decision.
So there was no way you could have known whether your patients needed to continue taking their medication, correct?
No, and I honestly wouldn't advise them either way.
Thank you. No further questions.
The state calls Dr. Smith to the stand. Dr. Smith, for a typical patient after surgery, what is the normal amount of OxyContin that you would prescribe them?
Usually 2 to 3 20-milligram pills a day.
And for how long would you prescribe them on this regimen?
It usually varies on the surgery, and we tend to err on the side of caution, but I'd say 1 to 3 weeks.
So you're saying 2 to 3 pills daily for 3 weeks, about 21 days. That's roughly 60 pills. Is that correct?
That seems about right, yes.
No further questions.
Now, Dr. Smith, is it impossible that a patient could be prescribed 200 pills of OxyContin?
Impossible, no, but rare.
What about multiple prescriptions for that total amount?
Again, not impossible, but still rare.
Thank you. No further questions.
The state would now like to call Dr. Hamilton to the stand. Dr. Hamilton, do any of your patients have prescriptions to OxyContin?
Yes, they do.
Do you recall the details of those prescriptions?
No, I don't.
Well, it has been entered as evidence. Would you mind reading it for us? I actually have a bottle right here.
Sure. It says 2 20-milligram tablets once a day for up to 4 weeks. No refills.
So 2 20-milligram tablets a day up to 4 weeks. I'll leave the math up to the jury. No further questions, Your Honor.
I have no questions at this time.
The state calls Officer Wolf back to the stand. Officer Wolf, after you searched the defendant's office, were you granted any other warrants?
We were given a warrant to search the defendant's house.
And what did that search yield?
In the defendant's bedroom, there was a shoebox of cash with small bills, seemingly random, totaling about $4,000.
Interesting. Thank you, that is all.
Now, officer, this money you found, is it connected to the OxyContin?
We cannot confirm that, no.
Is it possible that this money was a personal savings or money that the defendant may have needed on hand?
That is certainly possible.
Thank you. No further questions.
The state calls Mr. O.J. Simpson to the stand. Mr. Simpson, can you please tell the court your expertise?
I'm the head narcotics officer for the state of Connecticut.
Thank you. So can you please tell us a little bit about the ongoing rate for OxyContin now on the street?
Well, the prices have dropped a little bit, but I'd say about $1 per milligram.
$1 per milligram. So let's say someone was trying to deal OxyContin, had 140 pills of 30 milligrams. How much would you say they could expect to earn dealing those?
For that amount, I'd say roughly about $4,000.
$4,000. Now, can the court please remind the jury how much money was found in the defendant's bedroom?
In the defendant's bedroom, there was a shoebox of cash, about $4,000 or so in there. Lots of small bills, seemingly random, not neat stacks or anything.
No further questions, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Simpson, you say roughly $4,000. How rough is this estimate exactly?
Well, it would depend on the location and the population the individual is selling to, but I'd say anywhere between 3,500 to 5,000.
Seems pretty rough. Is a specific dollar amount reliable?
It's hard to pinpoint, but I'd say it's pretty reliable.
All right, no further questions. Thank you.
The state calls the defendant to the stand. Dr. Hamilton, is documentation required as a practice of your standard of care?
Yes, it is.
Do you keep documentation of all patients, appointments, and communications?
Yes, we keep all those things on record.
All right. When you were getting your degree, are you familiar with the Guide to Physical Therapy Practice?
I am familiar with it.
Do you know what it says in there about documentation?
I really can't tell you off the top of my head, but I'd say roughly that documentation should be accurate and done in a timely manner.
I actually have a guide with me right here. Can you please read to the jury what it says about documentation?
It says documentation is any entry into the patient-client record, such as consultation reports, initial examination reports, progress notes, flow sheets, checklists, re-examination reports, or summations of care that identifies the care or service provided. Physical therapists are responsible for coordination, communication, and documentation across all settings for all patients and clients.
All right. Now, in the case of Betty, did you accurately document all aspects of her treatment?
Yes, I did. I mean, to the best of my knowledge.
But according to previous testimony by both Betty and Maureen Helgen, you repeatedly sold to them narcotics for cash. Can you explain this?
No, I can't.
You cannot explain this. Did you purposely omit these records from your documentation?
No, I didn't.
Let me remind you, Dr. Hamilton, that you are under oath. I repeat that you purposely omit these records from your documentation.
I really didn't feel that it was necessary to document that. It had nothing to do with any kind of insurance reimbursement.
Well, did you make any profit off the narcotics you distributed?
Objection. Leading question.
Sustained.
Dr. Hamilton, where did the $4,000 found at your home come from?
It was from sales at my practice.
Sales of what?
Therabands and other things used for home exercises.
Was this shown in your accounts receivable or accounts payable?
Yeah, we keep track of all the purchases and everything that isn't covered by insurance, so patients are paying in cash.
Well, then why did you have $4,000 that belonged to your practice kept at your home?
I don't have an explanation for this.
Well, looking at your records, there seems to be some patients that were purchasing Therabands at intervals of 2 weeks, some as often as every week. Why would that be?
It's possible they lost their Theraband or needed a new resistance.
Well, in a specific record, patient David Wallace, he was buying Theraband every week for up to 2 months. Can you explain this?
No, I don't remember the reason.
When the police arrived at your practice, did you provide them with all the documentation requested?
Once I had a warrant, yes.
And was this information accurate and truthful?
Yes, it was.
Dr. Hamilton, the records that you provide to the police don't really match up with the records that were sent to Dr. Smith. Can you explain that?
No, I can't.
No further questions, Your Honor.
The court will now take a quick recess as the jury discusses this case. Court is now in order. Dr. Hamilton, you strike me as a ruthless individual who has no regards for the law and the sanctity of your profession. You fail your duty to accurately represent your peers and make a mockery of yourself in the prestigious medical field. Do you have anything to say for yourself?
Your Honor, I'm sorry for everything. I really didn't know I was breaking the law.
Negligence serves as no anecdote for you, Dr. Hamilton. It is no surprise to me that the jury finds the defendant, Dr. Caitlin Hamilton, guilty of illegal distribution of narcotics, inappropriate possession of narcotics, and fraudulent billing. The state of Connecticut sentences you to 4 years in the state penitentiary along with a $3,000 fine. A $45 fine will go towards a Code of Ethics quiz to realign yourself in the scope of physical therapy.
Welcome all. We are here today to discuss the status of Dr. Hamilton's physical therapy license. Now, Dr. Hamilton, can you confirm that the documents sent to this department regarding your conviction are valid?
Yeah, the documents that were sent today were directly from the county court.
And can you state for the rest of the board what judgments these documents contain?
I was charged with illegal distribution of narcotics, omission of records, and fraudulent billing.
Thank you. Now, are you aware that as a licensed physical therapist, you are to abide by the rules found in the Physical Therapy Act?
Yes, I'm aware.
So, would you say you are familiar with the Act?
I would say so.
Can you state for me what it states in Section 20-66-2 of this Act?
I cannot remember at this current moment.
You can't. That's almost impossible to believe. But the Act states, physical therapy includes the establishment and modification of physical therapy programs, treatment planning, instruction, wellness care, peer reviews, and consultative services, but does not include surgery, the prescription of drugs. Do you understand what this is stating, Dr. Hamilton?
Yes, I do.
So, you realize that as a physical therapist, your scope of practice does not include prescription of drugs, let alone the distribution or possession of such drugs.
Yes, I do realize this.
Are you also aware that your action of omission and falsification of records goes against the standards of practice for physical therapists?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. We have no other questions. The rest of the board and I will now deliberate and return with our final verdict. Dr. Hamilton, due to the multiple offenses and infractions of the Physical Therapy Practice Act, we have no other choice but to revoke your license. If you are aggrieved by this decision of the board, you may appeal as provided in Section 4-183. Thank you for your time. Meeting adjourned.